Guys, welcome back to Iris After Hours. I'm here with Rick Ridings, who is the founder and director of Succat Hallel, the 24/7 prayer house here in Jerusalem. We are on the roof of Succat Hallel. Rick, welcome to Iris After Hours.
Yeah, it's great to be with you.
Oh my gosh. Rick, how did all this happen? I mean, Succat Hallel is... Everyone who comes to Jerusalem knows about Succat Hallel, and marriages have been made here. I mean, people have met their spouses here, but the Lord's been worshipped here. I mean, so much significance. How many years is it now you've been here?
Actually, we moved here in 1999.
Wow.
And the Lord spoke really clearly to us to just begin something, to stop everything we were doing. We were doing some fairly large worship and prayer gatherings and
Where were
reconciliation in different countries all over the world.
So you were
based in Brussels, Belgium.
You were international.
But we were doing things in a lot of different places, like South Africa.
Wow.
Did 5 cities there right before the thing broke through and Mandela was released from prison at the end of the time. And it was one of the first times they had, according to them, it was the first time they had major gatherings with black and white and colored together in South Africa. It was really God's grace. So it was
Rick,
a
that was
special
you
time.
leading
The Lord
that.
said, lay all that down. He said, come to Jerusalem. And he said, start worshiping with your family in your living room.
No.
And then he said, after a few months, invite other people in and believe that I'll turn it into 24/7 in the spirit of the tabernacle of David within walking distance, which would have been right over here behind us in the old city of David, right under the Temple Mount.
Oh, yeah, the old city of David is
The
right here.
3,000-year-old city of David, where they found his palace ruins, is there. So that's where you would have had the tent with 24/7 worship and prayer.
Just
right there.
Like we can literally see it from here. Oh my gosh.
So he said, just believe me that I'll do that again to raise up 24/7. And it seemed crazy because there were so few believers, and it was the beginning of the bus bombing time here. So every few weeks, every few weeks there was a bus bomb. Because it started the year 2000, right after we started.
Because we just interviewed Chris Mitchell, and he got here just for
He came at the same time. Actually, he helped lead watches for us at the beginning when he was first here.
Yeah, this is too crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's not really the best time. In natural thinking, to start a ministry and see people move to where you are when there's suicide bombers every few weeks.
Because it was the news was crazy. I remember I was living in Australia. I was a lot younger then, but every week or twice a week there were suicide bombs.
Crazy, and we all of our family, the ones who worshipped with us, escaped bombs like by 5 minutes and stuff, just time after time. But on the other hand, you began to realize the safest place in the world is to be the center of God's will. And it was such a good time.
Okay, the t-shirt, hang on. Someone make that t-shirt. The safest place to be in the world is in the center of God's will. Make that t-shirt and send it to me. My wife says that all the time too.
Yeah.
It's so
It's good
true.
if she says that instead of the opposite.
Yes, that's true. If your wife's on board, then everything's fine.
Exactly. So my wife was, our girls were, and it just, how can I say, God just began drawing in people.
Yeah.
But obviously, because of the bus bombing, they didn't come unless they were really called of God. And then God began to raise up more and more local people, Israelis, that started getting a heart for worship and began to understand the thing of waiting on the Lord, not just once a week at congregation, but, to have time to just worship and love the Lord.
And I suppose this is the time where the Messianic community was starting to really grow.
It was it was still pretty early stages. It was still quite small.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how much it's grown in these 20 years.
Yeah.
Hugely. But what's exciting
next
now
year
is...
will be 20 years, hey?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we would have youth who would come and say, I'm the only one in my whole school, or I'm the only one in my army unit. And now almost all of them know several other believers in their school or in their army unit.
Oh, wow.
We have every Tuesday night here, we have youth that come from all over the city of Jerusalem for 3 hours of worship in Hebrew that you guys came to, and Heidi came and shared that last week.
The young people, and the young people were leading the worship.
Yeah.
I mean, they were kids, but they were up there leading, and it was powerful.
No, it's very encouraging, They're even small children now that are coming, 10, 11, 12 years old, saying, well, if the teenagers can lead worship, can't we lead worship as well? So we said, why not try it? And so they did. And then they came back, and it grew. Where it was mostly boys who played football after school. They said, an hour's not enough time to worship the Lord. Can we have 2 hours? This is 11, 12-year-old boys.
Oh my gosh,
and their mother
this is
said,
crazy.
You can't do as much soccer after school. They said, it's okay, we want to worship the Lord. And
oh my God.
So something's happening in Israel. Yeah.
gosh, Rick,
It's small, but it's happening.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, there must have been a price to pay for you to be here. Can you tell us about some of the costs that it has been to be here for 20 years with your family?
Yeah, I'd say, how can I say, the main thing, more even than the bombings and stuff like that in the early days, is more just the spiritual intensity when you live here. When you come on, people come on a tour and they think it's a nice, nice thing. They have no idea of what happens to the people who live here. And the Messianic believers, the Arab believers, the international believers who live here face incredible spiritual warfare and intensity. Sometimes people say, well, what's it like living in Jerusalem? And I say, well, some days it's intense, and then other days it's more intense. And I think it's just kind of the continual intensity that we find we have to learn a balance of occasionally getting out, getting away, get some rest and things. And also that doesn't all depend on just us, that 24/7 it's a lot of people.
So pray for the peace of Jerusalem has several layers of meaning.
Yeah, it does. We probably is the most intense spiritual warfare in the world in one way.
Yeah.
Because, and it makes total sense, if I were the devil and I do that, Jesus had said he was going to come back right over there and he was going to lock me up from there.
Yeah.
I would do everything I could to get rid of that place.
Oh,
So there's a pretty intense level of spiritual warfare here.
Whoa. So saying that, has there been any notice of people seeing like angelic warfare or the presence of God being strong here because of that? Because obviously when the devil comes in like a flood, God raises up a standard.
Exactly.
Yeah. And do you have any stories about that?
Well, I mean, often people who see in the spirit realm will see angels and what's happening in the room. One early story, there was a man that was a pastor and a worship leader at a church of about 2,000 in America. Felt the Lord told him to come here for a year of training and then go start a house of prayer in Brussels, Belgium. So he came, sold his nice house with the jacuzzi and the cars and all the things. And he's used to leading for 3,000 on a Sunday morning. He came in here. Some we have watches during the week that'll have 100 at them or whatever, but we have others at 3 or 4 because we're 24 hours a day.
Exactly.
We have been for 14 years now, 24 hours a day.
Oh my gosh, that's...
So he comes in and there's 3 ladies in the room and he goes, what have I done? At home I'd be leading for 2,000 people, and here I am, these 3 ladies sitting in the room. And he was not the kind that kind of tends to see or hear in the spirit realm. He said he suddenly felt the room, he heard rustling of wings like angels were filling up the room. And then he heard one angel go, shh, he's about to begin. And he was just melting. And suddenly a lady came up. She said, I'm so sorry, but before you begin, I have to tell you, I just heard angel wings rustling and filling up the room. They were packing out the room and they were so excited. And she said, I heard one of the angels go, shh, he's about to begin.
Oh my God.
And so he said, that's okay. I can lead worship in a room full of angels. That's okay. And so, it's the other side of the intensity of the spiritual warfare is the intensity of the angelic intervention and presence and comfort and encouragement and just the Holy Spirit's, loving comfort and presence. People sometimes say they'll walk in the room and almost fall over immediately from just what hits them in the face of the presence of the Lord.
Yeah.
And especially with the younger ones are leading worship at Israelis. There's something very special about that touches the Lord's heart. And I mean, Jesus said on that other hill over there, the Mount of Olives, he said, to Jerusalem, I'm not going to come back to you until you say, and he was speaking to a Jewish Jerusalem, until you say, Baruch haba b'shem Adonai, until you say, welcome is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. So now, by God's grace, our core staff is Israeli. And that's part of the wisdom of the Lord with the bus bombings, difficulties getting visas, is that our core staff is Israeli. They live here. Others help. We're thankful for all the ones that come from the nation. There's a French group right now singing, ministering in French downstairs. But the core are Israeli now. And so you have Jewish people who believe in Jesus, who are living in Jerusalem and saying, Baruch haba b'shem Adonai, come back. So it's cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Rick, what is the sense of... It's 15 years of 24/7. Has the Lord revealed anything to you about what that's doing, or why He's wanting you to do that?
To be honest, sometimes it's how can I say, it's a little bit like in The Lord of the Rings, where Frodo doesn't really realize what he's doing. It's better if you don't know too much.
Yes.
Sometimes we say, Lord,
Come
I don't know
on.
if I want to know too much. Sometimes when we do, it gets scary. And then we
Absolutely.
just have to say, look, we're just simple little people who love the Lord, and we're just obeying the Lord, and
Yeah.
he can do with it what he wants to do.
Yes.
But people who have been here a long time ago, say 20 years ago, and haven't been back, they come and they say, I can't believe that the atmosphere is just so dramatically different in this area of the city where you
Wow.
have your house of prayer. It's just changed. And,
Yeah.
And by God's
even
grace, there's
Arbor
never
Tor-
been another successful
Arbor Tor
bus.
feels different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it does.
From
yeah.
even 6 years ago when I was here,
Yeah.
and 7, 8 years ago, Arbor Tor feels so different coming
Yeah.
down that road today.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So, what is there any idea of the future with Succat Hallel? Has God showed you anything? Is just you continuing on?
Well, what he's shown us very clearly in the last few years, he spoke to us that he was going to begin multiplying houses of prayer in the Middle East.
Right.
That the only thing that will break it through in the Middle East is massive prayer and worship. You can't just go out and start harvesting here. There's hardly any harvest if you do that. But when you begin to break through in worship and prayer, it's like in Mozambique or Indonesia or places where as the worship and prayer go forth and it breaks through, then suddenly the harvesting becomes plentiful.
Yes.
And the same thing's going to happen in the Middle East. We're absolutely sure there's going to be a huge harvest here.
Yeah.
But it's like it has to be prepared through worship and prayer for the breakthrough, so that so it can be brought in.
Yeah.
So he is already doing that. We have teams that go out and they encourage and strengthen, spend times in houses of prayer. We have a new program beginning in March. That'll be a 10-month time called Tabernacle 19. Based on a scripture in Isaiah 19, where God says he'll work in the Middle East in such a way that the ancient Assyrian Empire, which is most of the Middle East, and Egypt and Israel will all worship together.
Wow.
And he talks about a highway. Yeah, Isaiah 19 highway. So this is called Tabernacle 19, and it's a 10-month training for people who feel called to the Middle East, already called, and they'll spend time here, time in Iraq, time in Turkey, time in Egypt, time in Jordan, in houses of prayer.
Yep.
And then by the end, they know if God's calling them to one of those or to the whole region, but to connect them, into those places.
And how do people get involved in that?
Well, the best way would be to go to our website and then just contact us, www.succathallel, SuccathHallel, succathallel.com. And if they go there and just contact and just say, I'm interested about training for the Middle East.
Yes.
We don't have all the details on there for security's sake, as you understand.
Absolutely.
But they're welcome to contact us and we'll send them the information.
And just like for anybody else that wants to come and visit, do they need to contact you if they want to come and
actually,
residencies
there are two ways. If they're just coming for a visit, on the website it says visit us and gives the directions how to get here. And the doors are open from 6 a.m. to midnight every day. And people just come in all day long from in any given day, there are probably 20 or 30 nations that are represented through the day of people that come in.
That's amazing.
It's just wonderful. In addition to the core of the Israelis, both Jewish and Arab, and we have one Palestinian staff member even who grew up in Gaza.
That's awesome.
So they're welcome to come. We have 3 months training times called Stand, learning to stand before the Lord in the house of the Lord.
So people can come for 3 months to do that.
So they can
because a lot of visas are for 3 months.
So they can find it on the website. Yeah.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that must be really impactful for people to come and do that here.
Yeah, we find that when they come, they're very, very excited to be in Israel and seeing all, that really is where David had his palace, and this where Yeshua was crucified and all this stuff. But then after a few weeks, the reality of that they're here and the intensity of the spiritual war kind of hits them. They work through that. And then after that, it's like something like revelation just starts coming. Many say that it's like suddenly just huge amounts of just revelation of the word and of Yeshua just come,
Wow.
And many then do feel called, and different ones have gone through here that are helping with houses of prayer in different places in the Middle East and sometimes in other countries.
Wow, that's amazing. Rick, what's God done in your heart in regards to Israel? Well, in these last almost 20 years you've been here, What's grown? What's changed? What is your
I
heart?
would say the one of the biggest things was years ago when I first began to understand the importance of Israel in the Word. It was kind of like, okay, prepare the way for the return of Yeshua, of Jesus. It was also like, well, if I pray for Israel, my country will be blessed. I will be blessed. All of it was very selfish.
Yes. Blessings, me, come to me.
Exactly.
Give me the blessings, God. Bless me, bless me.
Oh, well, I can get more blessings if I bless Israel. So then it was God beginning to work his heart to really begin to say, Lord, I just want to know your heart for these people and what you feel. And I could maybe best illustrate that through a young Egyptian who we met in Egypt with a group of Messianic leaders we'd taken down there to pray with some prayer leaders from Egypt. And they brought a young lady, Orthodox background. She'd come to know Jesus and been filled with the Holy Spirit. And she said every night she was so hungry for God that she said, Lord, I just want to know you so much. And she said Jesus actually began to walk in the room and visit her in the evenings and begin to teach her the scriptures. And she said it wasn't a dream, it wasn't a vision, he'd walk in the room. And she said one night he said to her, I want you to love my people Israel. And she said, I can't do that. I'm an Egyptian. We hate Israel. They're our enemies. And he began weeping. And he just said, these are my brothers and sisters after the flesh, and you can't love them after all I've done for you, after all I've forgiven you and done in your heart. And she just broke and began to realize his heart. And then he started just teaching her through the Word about his love for the Jewish people and the price they had paid. When, the people say, well, why are they chosen? The Jewish people here put it the other way. They say, why do we have to be chosen? The cost of preserving the scriptures, the cost of receiving the scriptures, the cost of receiving the Messiah is that they were hated and Satan tried to wipe them out time after time after time in history. Even now. Yeah, exactly. They're still crying out, wipe it off the map. So we need to realize if Satan hates Israel so much, it must be something that God loves very, very deeply.
Absolutely.
And it's not just a matter of, well, we pray for them so our country will be blessed. We need to say, God, I want to love what you love. What touches your heart, I want it to touch my heart.
Absolutely.
I want to know you.
Otherwise, do we really know Yeshua? If we don't know his heart.
Exactly.
What are we doing?
How can we say we know him if a huge part of his heart and his word is about Israel?
Yeah.
And we could care less about it? There's a disconnect.
There's definitely a disconnect.
And we just have to say, Lord, I just want to know you, even if it means saying and doing things that other people might find politically incorrect or offensive in my circle that I run in or whatever. Lord, I just want to know you.
Yeah.
And I want to love what you love and hate what you hate.
Rick, when did you first meet Heidi and get in touch with Iris Ministries? Tell us that story.
As I remember, it first happened through our youth conference. God had spoken to us that we were to believe the Lord to bring together Jewish and Arab and Palestinian young people.
What year was this?
We started in 2007.
Yes.
And I think she actually came for the very first one. She came for several, and I think she came for the very first one in 2007.
I came for one.
So we called it One Thing Jerusalem.
Yes.
And then we decided, no, it needs to have a local name.
Yeah.
So now the name is Elav, which means unto him.
Yes, Elav, that's right. Yeah.
So actually she celebrated her 50th birthday with one of those.
Yes, I was here. I came with her on that trip.
Yeah. So how can I say, what we love about Heidi's ministry here is how much she loves the youth of Israel. They know she loves her so much, loves them, and that she's not here because she could be doing things a lot bigger than the numbers you have here.
Yeah.
I mean, even those larger conferences, like there were a few hundred, know. So she could be doing a lot of great big things that could bring in a lot of money, and this, doesn't bring in any money, and it's just a little thing. But she has such a heart for the youth here.
It's so important.
And they were so touched.
The youth are so important here.
And just also the stories about persecution, they relate to. One of our young staff guys I mentioned, grew up in Gaza. Well, his cousin, who I knew, had a bookstore that sold Bibles, and he began to be threatened by extremists, and they burned down his bookstore 2 times. We went and visited him to try to encourage him afterwards, and then we received word that he had phoned his wife, and he said, they've threatened me, and if I don't come home, you know what happened. and they found him martyred, beaten to death for his faith. So it's very real to them here. I mean, Jewish young people here don't face that degree of severity, but I've known of some that came to the Lord who were beaten by their severely beaten by their family, or they took them to deprogrammers, or they faced some very real persecution. So, how could I say, the fluffy stuff that some people bring in is not something that speaks to them.
Yeah.
But the stories that I just given of the persecution, of the cost, speak to them. Okay, it's worth the cost of following Yeshua here.
Wow, that's so powerful. So Rick, I've got 3 questions for you, and they're not really related to this, but I've been asking all our podcast guests these questions. What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is Lord of the Rings.
Come on.
Because it's what it feels like we're living here most of the time.
That's crazy.
It's just like when you go like another battle, and then Lord of the Rings, I just think another battle, okay.
I like it. That's awesome. Now, what is your favorite sound?
That's a difficult one.
It's a hard question, isn't
I would say my favorite sound is when moments in worship where suddenly like everyone just finds the same note together, and you sense there's a very diverse group of people in the room, but we're all in such unity that it's like it hits a certain note and you just sense something's like shifting in the room and in the atmosphere.
Come on. I love that. Now, and now the last question. When all's said and done here on earth and your life is finished and you're just about to meet Jesus, what would be the first words you'd like him to say to you?
For him to say to me? To be honest right now, I think the first words would be, I want to take you into your daughter Esther, who went home to the Lord 3 months ago, 29 years old. And how can I say, it's become so real, just the joy she has in the Lord's presence and the freedom she has in his presence and the worship and just just how close she is, but we miss her.
Yeah.
And so I think the first words I'd like to say is, hey, I'd like to take you in to see Esther.
Oh, Rick, that's amazing. So yeah, I'm so sorry. We're sorry for your loss.
Well, we're thankful for all you guys prayed with us. And as you know, the Lord brought her back from the dead basically 3 weeks before she finally went.
Yeah.
And she told us about heaven and about Yeshua and the things that happened.
Really?
Yeah. She said, it was interesting. She said, he didn't talk to me about anything that we think of in the world as accomplishments. He just showed me scenes. He said a certain moment when I was worshiping and it was really costly. And he said, you touched my heart so much at that moment. You never know how much that love meant to me. And he was just like touched by he showed her thing after thing of worship. And then he showed her different times that she thought were quite random with different people. And he said, in this moment, you chose love and you showed so much love to this person. And I was so proud of you, and it touched my heart that you loved them with my love. Wow. And so it's really impacted our lives, And then we had 3 weeks with her. And then when she finally went home for the final time to the Lord, right before she went, she looked us each in the eye. There were 4 of us, her husband and my wife, her mother, and myself, and the doctor. And she just looked at us almost like a command and said, Hodula Adonai ki tov, which means give thanks to the Lord for he is good. So it was like saying, don't you dare say God is not good. And don't you dare stop thanking the Lord after I go. And right after she said that 4 times, she just closed her eyes, and that was the last time we saw her on this side.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
It really changed our lives.
Wow, that is so powerful.
Yeah.
Wow. I lost my father just back in August. I was in Australia. It's funny, I had 3 weeks with him before he passed in Australia. Yeah, he deteriorated quite a lot. He was 85. But wow.
Yeah, it's how could I say? We talk about heaven, we talk about the eternal, but we really live our lives very often consumed with temporary concerns.
Gosh, we do, don't we?
And that kind of thing, you just suddenly go, wow, this isn't important, but this is. And and the thing is, like what he told her, it's the love for him, the love for others, far more important than I did this or I did that.
Yeah. I know it in a way, it really makes you, the depth of life becomes so much more important, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
When someone you love passes.
Yeah.
And what's really important becomes...
It does. And that's something, to be very honest, I appreciate about Iris very much. Most of the leaders all the leaders I've met from Iris, I feel like really are desiring that. They're really desiring to, first of all, love the Lord and then love other people more than that they're trying to have a ministry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
That's cool.
Rick, thank you. Thank you for joining us on top of here.
Yeah,
we have Mount Zion behind us, the Temple Mount of Olives you can see back there. We are in the land. This is Israel, and we love you guys. Thank you for listening. Rick, would you just pray a blessing over our audience?
I'd be honored. Yeah. Father, from Zion today, I just want to speak the blessing of hearts that will follow hard after you, that will really love the Lord their God with all their heart, soul, mind, and strength. May you be blessed to make the main thing, the Lord himself.
Yes.
May you be blessed to know him and to know his heart, to know the things that touch his heart. And may you be blessed to really live that out, to live in such a way that love in his heart for Israel comes forth from you, that love in his heart for the Middle East and for the Muslims comes through you, that love in his heart for everybody that doesn't know him yet just grips your heart and comes through you to others. So we bless you from Zion with the knowledge of the Lord, who has such amazing love for every single person, such a deep, deep fondness for each person. May you know him, his fondness for you, his love for you, his care for you, and then may you show that same love and fondness and grace and care to others. In the name of Yeshua.
We love you guys. We love you. Bless you. Thank you for traveling through Israel with us. And we'll see you next time. Ciao. This podcast is presented by Iris Global. For more information or to support the work of Iris Global, please visit us online at irisglobal.com.